Hey y'all, welcome back to another video. In today's video we're going to be going over Charizard EX and covering some crucial mistakes that you need to stop making in order to win more games and place a little higher in your local tournaments. Deck list is down in the description below, so make sure to check that out. Stay tuned to the end of the video. You're going to learn a lot here today and you'll be glad that you did. My name is Jared and I'll be your gameplay nurse. Let's get into the video. The first tip I have for Charizard EX is to avoid over or under using the Infernal Rain ability. Infernal Rain states that when you evolve into Charizard EX, you can choose up to 3 Fire Energy from your deck and attach them to your Pokemon in any way that you like. A lot of people will either underutilize this by attaching a Fire Energy from their hand and then only grabbing 1 from their deck, or overuse it by always grabbing all 3 and then just throwing that 3rd energy onto a random Pokemon in play. My advice is to try to use 2 unless you have a reason not to. In this way, you can either hold on to an energy in your hand in case your opponent needs to stall. A lot of opponents will know that Charizard EX is very light on energy. Most decks only run 5. So they can gust up, say, your Rotom V into the active and know that you'll have a tough time paying that 1 retreat cost in order to get him out of play. So you can see in this clip, this is my 2nd turn of the game and I've had a Fire Energy in my hand this whole time. I did not attach it to one of my Charmanders on turn 1 because I had a feeling I was not going to get the resources that I need in order to get a Dusclops or a Dusknoir in play to pop and get this guy out of my active slot. So I held on to that Fire Energy just in case I needed to attach it to my Duskull this turn in order to pay that 1 retreat cost to get him out of the active so I can get my Charizard online. In this game, my opponent is playing a 1 prize only variation of Lost Box. So I know that I need to start taking those single prize knockouts as soon as possible because I'm going to have 6 turns that I need to blow through in order to take all of my prize cards against this deck. It's actually ended up being a really interesting deck to play against, and I think this guy ended up taking 2nd in this tournament. So Mr. Dog Games, thanks for the fun. Did really well in our fight, and it was actually a very interesting match, so thank you very much. But I'm glad that I held on to that fire and I didn't use it in lieu of Infernal Rain because it let me do that. The other overusing, grabbing 3 every single time to just throw them onto a random Pokemon, unless you know that there's a need for that, I wouldn't recommend it. In this clip, I want to talk about using our resources late game and the phrase thinning is winning. But before we get to that, I want to talk about super rods, because a lot of players I see will overutilize their super rods. They will grab cards that they don't need out of their discard just to throw them back into their deck to later jam them up when they don't need these cards. I don't need my Charmander here, I don't need my Duskull. They're better off staying in the discard, so I am not grabbing them with this super rod. In fact, I even get rid of one of my energies and then grab my Radiant Charizard instead, because I know I have a 2nd super rod that I can burn through. Next part is to thin out your hands. So these Buddy-Buddy Poffins, I don't need these anymore, and I don't want to draw them later in case I use this Iono or an Unfair Stamp. So I'm just going to burn them right now. Just get them into my discard pile. I don't want to see them again this game. And then I'm going to use this 2nd super rod, and you'll see I'm not going to grab 3 cards. Even though there are more than 3 options available to me, all I really need is that 2nd Fire Energy and this Lumineon. Everything else would just be a waste to throw back into my deck. I have an Iono in hand. That's something that I considered playing this turn. And I don't want to draw an extra Fire Energy. I don't want to draw a Duskull. I don't want to draw a Charmander. So I'm just not going to worry about that. Same with this Flip the Script. I don't want a Duskull. I don't want a Charmander with the Flip the Script. I don't want an extra Fire Energy. None of those are going to help me right now. So I did not get them back into my deck with the Super Rod. A lot of new players will think that pros have just insane luck, and that's part of what lets them win. But the reality is that pro players are creating their own luck by getting rid of this bloat so that their odds of top decking the card that they actually need increases astronomically. In this case, because my deck isn't super bloated, I hit this Ultra Ball off the flip the script, which lets me grab this Lumineon, which I can chain into grabbing that boss's orders, which is going to win me this game. If I had pulled like 3 Fire Energy or a Duskull, a Charmander, and a Fire Energy, then I would have just been stuck and kind of dead in the water because I don't have a way of killing this Pikachu. So just really think about what you're grabbing and putting back into your deck, or what's in your hand that you can just get rid of. If it's something you don't want to see again this game and you have the capability to burn it, just burn it. Get it out of your hand, get it into your discard pile. We don't want it. And then you're increased your odds of winning. Next thing I want to talk about is the use of Forest Seal Stone and your V-Star ability. Very, very common for people to hold on to this resource and treat it a bit too preciously. Really, what it's for is to increase your early game consistency and to help you fill those gaps that you need in order to get your Pidgeot EX and your Charizard EX online kind of in turn, your second turn if possible. So in this case, I had 2 rare candies in my hand. So I'm going to use Forest Seal Stone to grab my Pidgeot EX so that I can use a rare candy to get Pidgeot EX online. And then I can use Quick Search to grab a Charizard EX, use that second rare candy, get Charizard EX online. And then you can see I just grabbed the 2 Fire Energies there and I'm swinging. Same with this case. I'm just using that Quick Search to get my Charizard EX into play. And then I'm using Forest Seal Stone to get the rare candy that I need in order to actually evolve into the Charizard EX. I'm not sitting on it in case I need a game-winning boss in turn 7. I'm just going to burn it here on turn 2. I'm going to get consistent, I'm going to get set up, and then I'm going to start swinging. There are cases where Forest Seal Stone can get you out of a jam. And this is one of them where I just had a horrible, my top 7 opening hand, all I had was a Radzard, so I've had him in the active the whole game up to this point, and I've been kind of slowly playing energy onto him, just trying to get him out, because I can see my opponent is way far behind in the setup race. And in this mirror match, I really want to get swinging before him, so I use a Forest Seal Stone to grab a Fire Energy. Not a very common use case for a Forest Seal Stone, but I'm not afraid to use it like that because I want to get set up in front of my opponent. I want that Charizard in the active first. I want to be able to boss up his Pidgeot and then just pop that, take it out, and put him even farther behind. Next thing I want to talk about is Thorton. This card causes a lot of confusion with new players. The general idea behind Thorton is that it lets you skip that necessary turn in order to evolve a Pokemon. So we know that if you play a Pokemon from your hand onto your bench, it needs to sit for a full turn before it can be evolved. But when you Thorton, everything that you change over carries onto that new Pokemon, including damage. Which in this rare use case, I utilized Thorton as a Turo, essentially. That Rotom was stuck in my active and he was just going to scream tail me for the rest of the game. So I used Thorton to get Rotom out of my active because I didn't have access to a Turo. The other thing that you need to keep in mind is that Thorton is a support card. Let me know in the comments below if I'm not the only one that does this, but I cannot get it out of my head that Thorton is a supporter and counts as your supporter for the turn. In this clip here, I had the idea that I would play a Thorton, get a Duskull online, and then play an Arven for an Ultra Ball in order to find a Dusknoir. I just completely hard-locked myself doing this, and then right here I realized, oh yeah, Thornton's a supporter. I can't play an Arven. So I'm looking at the board state now. My opponent has 0 cards in his hand, so I have my counter catcher available, and I'm just going to pull his Radiant Greninja into the active and pray that he does not top deck an energy pulling into his next turn. That way I can stall out and make up for my mistake of not being able to play 2 supporters in 1 turn. So we're just praying to the top deck gods here that he does not draw an energy off of this rip. And he passes. So we're never punished. We get that going. This is the other thing I want to talk about, is that right now I'm swinging for 270 damage. So I don't have enough damage to take out his Archaladon, which is why I was considering this play in the first place. I want to intentionally give him a prize card so that I can hit for another 30 damage, and then I can swing and get the knockout on his Archaladon. A lot of new Charizard EX players are afraid of using their opponent's prize cards as one of our resources. There are a lot of games where I just need to swing for a little bit more damage and I can get a big knockout on one of their 2 prizers. So I will blow a Dusclops or a Dusknoir, even if it's not going to get me a kill, just so that I can do that 30 extra damage to take a knockout. Use your opponent's prize cards as a resource, and you'll end up winning more games because of it. Thanks for watching through to the end of the video. I'm a newer channel, so any kind of interaction you can give really helps a long way. Drop a like and subscribe, or leave a comment with your own Charizard tips and tricks. Help share and build up this community of like-minded players. Catch y'all next time.